Hey there, fellow keto warriors. I'm Heather. This is What's Up Wednesday. I'm actually on for a second time today because earlier I was on, it was live, and the video disappeared. And this video is used for so many purposes that I actually need it to keep showing up on my Facebook page, as well as something that I can use on my blog post and my website and YouTube and everywhere else that I am. And this is a really important topic that I'm covering today, so I don't want future people that weren't able to be here live to be able to go back and reference at another point. In case you didn't know, Wednesday is blog post day, and every other Wednesday it's recipe week. Today is recipe week, and I'm sharing my latest creation, which my clients got in their meal plan for May, and that's my buffalo chicken dip. And I'm also re-sharing my spinach and artichoke dip, which is a huge fan favorite and has been a favorite and staple in my household for the last 3 years, and in most of my clients' households as well. Since we've got Memorial Day coming up in the next 2 weeks and we'll kick off for summer, there's going to be a lot of entertaining. A lot of people are going to have family and friends over and need to have some dishes that are not only keto friendly, but crowd friendly. And these hit the mark all the way around. But in the recipe for the buffalo chicken dip, I specifically call for a step 3 rotisserie chicken from Whole Foods. And the reason why I use a step 3 rotisserie chicken already made and everything else is just for convenience. My buffalo chicken dip is usually one of those things that I make when I'm short on time and don't want to spend hours in the kitchen prepping something. So it's one of those I go to and grab the chicken and then throw it into the oven once it's all mixed up. It literally takes 5 minutes to prepare and then 30 to 35 minutes to cook. So it's an easy dish, and it's something that I really save for those times when I'm in a crunch. But I talk specifically about Whole Foods Step 3, and I want to explain to you why quality of food is so important. You know, we all know that, there's organic and conventional, and that one is supposed to be better for us than the other. But really understanding why goes a long way to spending the extra couple dollars a pound that you might have to spend for these quality foods. So let's start off with beef. And beef is one of those things that it tends to be, for a lot of people, they were like, oh, red meat's bad for you. Well, yes and no, and you'll see why in just a minute. So most conventional beef is oftentimes referred to, you might hear CAFO, which is concentrated animal feeding operations. If you haven't watched Fed Up, I suggest you go watch that before you do anything else, so you can really get a visual of what I'm talking about. And that may be enough for you to step away from the cheaper meats and spend the extra couple dollars for the good stuff. So in these CAFOs, these operating farms, these feedlots, cows are packed into tight spaces. It's standing room only. There's no pastures for them to graze on. There's no cows being cows. They're stuck in mud and feces, and disease is rampant. Because diseases are rampant and cows are fed grains, which cows weren't meant to eat grains. They weren't meant to eat corn. They were meant to eat grass. So all of those things combined means that disease is something that these farmers deal with on a daily basis. So they pump these cows full of antibiotics. And these cows that we then eat are basically hosting these antibiotics. So even if you're that type of person that stays away from antibiotics unless it's absolutely necessary, you're probably in all likelihood getting a whole lot more than you could ever imagine just by eating these conventional meats. So that's not great. So you've got disease, you've got treatment of animals. So for those animal lovers out there, this isn't something that we should support in any way, shape, or form. Not only is it not healthy for us to have all these antibiotics, but then the animals, they're miserable. I don't want to eat a miserable cow. I don't know about you. I'd actually like my animals in my world to live a good animal life. But the most important thing is that the further away we get from the animals of what they should be doing, like eating grass, and grazing and doing all of those things, and instead forcing them into this system of fattening them up, keeping them in these tight confined spaces, it actually changes the makeup of the meat. So we're looking at nutritional differences. So grass-fed and finished beef is what I look for when I go to the grocery store. And the reason why the finished is so important is because there are some lots out there that will feed cows grass 80% of the time. And then they'll finish them before they go to market, and they'll fatten them up with grains. And when they do that, it undoes all of the good that grass-fed process has provided up till that point. So it's totally pointless. So unless you're getting grass-fed and finished, you're getting ripped off. You totally skip it. But what the big difference is, so the omega-3 fatty acids are much higher in grass-fed and finished beef. The ratio to omega-3 to omega-6s is a much better ratio in that instance. So the beef that has the higher omega-3s versus the omega-6 has an anti-inflammatory properties. Inflammation is at the root of almost all diseases. If you haven't figured that out yet, that is something that you really need to, sit with. Inflammation is the root of many, if not all, diseases. This beef is higher in cholesterol neutral saturated fat. So good saturated fats are not going to clog the arteries, the big fat fluffy kind, all the stuff that we need. It's higher in vitamin A, E, and glutathione. So glutathione is considered the mother of all antioxidants. And the reason being is there's not a cell or tissue in our body that doesn't need it. So that glutathione is one of the most important things that we're getting from this meat. So the omega-3s along with the glutathione really go to support a healthy body. So omega-3 to omega-6 ratios, you might have heard that, you might be familiar with the term. What is currently going on when you eat these conventional meats or you have a traditional standard American diet is that the ratio is anywhere from 20 all the way up to 50 to 1 versus what it should be, which is a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio. Take that. That's a big one right there. Talk about a massive departure from what we should be eating and for our health, more importantly. So when you have an overabundance of omega-6s, that causes a whole host of problems. Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, cancer, psychological disorders, along with autoimmune diseases. So pretty much everything. That's a problem. So we really want to keep that omega-3 to omega-6 ratio in line, and you can do that by eating grass-fed and finished beef, stepping away from the conventional meats. So when you're thinking about that extra couple dollars per pound that you're paying for this grass-fed and finished beef, think about the money that you're going to be saving by not going to the doctor, by not having to deal with medications to treat all of these symptoms or all of these diseases, and the time that you're going to be able to spend doing whatever it is you want to do because you're healthy enough to do it. Then like a couple dollars, what is that? So now let's talk about fish. And for a lot of us, fish would seem like the smarter or healthier choice when going out to dinner and we're not sure. So fish, that's usually the option people go to. And in some cases, that is the healthiest option, but only if the fish is wild caught. So you won't catch me eating anything that's not wild caught. And just like with this CAFO farms, farmed fish, they're in small, tight spaces. Disease is prevalent, so they're filled with antibiotics. Pesticides are used because farmers are trying to keep their fish from dying off, especially salmon. Salmon can succumb to the sea lice. So by treating the salmon with these pesticides, it's hopefully going to prevent sea lice. But then we're ingesting these pesticides. And there's pesticides that have been banned for years that are still floating around in our oceans. It's still getting caught up in the fat of a lot of marine life. Those fats are being fed to these farm fish. And in turn, we're eating these cancer-causing banned pesticides. So not a good option in the least for those reasons. But again, when you alter the fish and alter what they're supposed to do, it changes the makeup of what they are and what the benefits for us become. So we usually eat wild-caught salmon and fish for the high omega-3s. It changes again. So the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio gets completely out of whack and altered, and defeats the whole point of eating the wild-caught fish to begin with. So step away from the fish unless it's wild-caught. And if it doesn't say wild-caught or it says wild Atlantic salmon, there is no wild Atlantic salmon. So you know that that is farm. So that should be a really good indication, and you can always ask. If you don't know and aren't sure, ask. So finally, let's circle back to the Whole Foods Step 3 chicken that I suggest getting in my recipe. If you're not familiar, Whole Foods has a grading system, a welfare animal grading system. And it ranges from 1 to 5, 1 being the least that you can possibly do to still be in Whole Foods, to 5, which is the best, which is the sustainability, it's the, best for the animals, it's the healthiest for us, and all around, it's animals doing what animals are supposed to do, so in turn, we're getting all the benefits for that. And you're going to want to look for that with eggs too. So pasture raised, that's what you want to look at. I just had an article I posted and shared on Facebook, I think it was last night, about what to look for with eggs when you're buying eggs in the grocery store, because there's a lot of mislabeling there, which they do on purpose. There's a lot of tricky words and things that, so you might be spending a whole lot more money for something that you're not really actually getting. So be clear, there's on that article, there's actually resources. So it lists out all the different types of eggs and names of eggs, so you know exactly what you're getting when you go to the grocery store. Use it, use your tools, and spend your money wisely. No point in throwing good money after bad to get stuff that you're really not even getting. So in a pinch, normally I look for step 5 of everything. If I can get step 5, I for sure buy it. That goes for beef, that goes for pork, that goes for chicken. In a pinch, I'll do step 3, and the rotisserie chickens that they have pre-made in Whole Foods come in two different kinds. There's a step 2 and a step 3. The step 3 is organic, and step 3 really means that the chickens have enhanced outdoor access. So not fully pasture raised, but way better than free range, which is a term that's thrown around very loosely and really doesn't mean anything. It's organic, which we love, so that means that there's no antibiotics, because again, when chickens, just like all other animals, are cooped up in small cages, don't have access to pastures, are in these feedlots, they're prone to disease, so they're pumped full of antibiotics again. So we're getting them everywhere, people. Like I said, antibiotics everywhere. And the omega-3 to 6 ratio goes completely out of whack. So these are some of the things that I look for. The pasture 3, or the step 3 pasture raised pre-made rotisserie chicken, for sure, in a pinch. It's not something I eat every day. It's not something I serve in my house every day, but it's definitely a better option. For those of you that live maybe in the southeast and you have a Publix grocery store chain around you, they have what they consider their more organic. It's because it's not really organic, it's a more organic brand, and that's their Greenwise brand. Don't bother spending the extra money on that. There's really not a whole lot of benefit to you. It's just another way to part you from your money without giving you the benefit of the healthy sides to that. So this right here is a little why when I was creating my business and looking for a name and trying to figure out what exactly, where I would categorize myself and what I really wanted to share with the world, was that no matter what, I'm a keto coach. If you haven't seen that or been over to my website, it startswiththefood.com, you'll see why the ketogenic lifestyle is so prevalent in my life. But what was the most important thing for me to share with the world was that quality of food, it starts with the food. that everything starts with the food. So before you change your diet, before you change your lifestyle, before you know, make any of these massive changes, look at the quality of food that you're bringing into the house. Look to see that it is of the utmost quality and that you really are getting what your body needs, because when it starts with the food, everything else becomes much easier. Next week, come back. Next Wednesday, I'll be talking about exogenous ketones. The supplements that you may be seeing out there, Prove It is one of them just offhand. There's a lot of misconceptions about what they actually do versus what they really do, and why I'm not a fan, especially for weight loss and health. That is not something I would promote, but I'll give you the breakdown next week. So come back next week. I will actually be here at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I was here at 3 today. It's just not showing. So I will be back next week. If you have any questions about anything that I covered today, put it in the feed. You can hit me up, message me on Facebook. You can reach out to me via the website. I'm really easy to talk to. You can also book a discovery call. I go into more detail about really the quality of food, what I look for in my book, Ketogenic Solutions. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go over to itstartswiththefood.com. Under resources, I've got What's in Heather's Kitchen, along with my books and guides. I have a couple of books and guides out there, but the Ketogenic Solutions really talks more in depth about this. And it's a topic near and dear to my heart, because I've suffered from so many of these diseases and illnesses, and my family and friends have as well. Quality really counts in my world. So if you have any questions, hit me up. If you have questions about my topic for next week, put them in this feed or reach out to me any other way. Smoke signal, bat signal, it's all good. Till next Wednesday, it starts with the food. I'm Heather. Peace out.